450 kilograms. Jaws powerful enough to crush the skull of a gaur, the largest wild cattle on Earth. A bite force strong enough to shatter bone. A body built to drag prey heavier than itself for over a kilometer. The tiger. The largest cat on Earth. The most powerful solitary predator among land mammals. And somewhere in the jungles of India, right now, one of them is backing away. Retreating. Because of an animal less than a tenth of its size. You think you understand the tiger. But what science has uncovered reveals something far more precise, far more unsettling. This is not just power. This is engineering. The invisible weapon. A tiger's roar is not just what you hear, it's what you don't. Tigers produce infrasound frequencies below human hearing. You can't hear it, but your body can feel it. At certain intensities, infrasound causes disorientation, anxiety, even temporary paralysis. Prey animals don't just fail to escape. Their bodies stop responding. They freeze. Add that to a strike covering 6 meters in under a second, and you understand why a tiger's success rate can exceed 50%. This is not brute force. This is biology operating at a level we only recently began to understand. The jungle network. The tiger hunts alone, but it does not exist alone. The jungle speaks and the tiger listens. Peacocks scream at danger. Langur monkeys give directional alarm calls. Small birds move and react to disturbances in the forest. The tiger reads all of it. It uses the fear of other animals as information, a living map of threats it cannot see. It does not cooperate. It does not give back. It simply listens. The enemies. Not everything fears the tiger. The dhole, the Indian wild dog, small, fast, relentless. In packs, they hunt with coordination, rotating runners, maintaining pressure. They don't freeze, they don't stop, and sometimes they drive tigers away, even kill them. Against numbers and endurance, raw power is not always enough. But the most dangerous enemy is even smaller. The porcupine. Slow, quiet, defenseless at first glance. A tiger attacks. The porcupine turns its back and strikes with quills. Barbed, detaching, driving deeper with every movement. They embed in paws, face, muscles. They cause infection, pain, nerve damage. The strongest predator on land, undone by 15 kilograms of defense. They endured ice ages, environmental collapse, and near extinction. 100 years ago, there were over 100,000 wild tigers. Today, fewer than 4,000 remain. 3 subspecies are already gone, not in ancient history, in living memory. The animal that survived natural catastrophe after catastrophe is now disappearing because of us, not because it failed, but because it was never built to face what we are. What if everything you believed about the king of beasts was wrong? He is called the most powerful predator on the African savanna. His image graces the flags of nations. His roar stops time itself. But beneath the crown, beneath the mane, the myth, the legend, lies a truth so unsettling, so brutally precise, that science is still trying to fully explain it. This is not the lion you know. This is the lion that has been hiding in plain sight for 2 million years. The lion sleeps, not occasionally, not after a big hunt, but up to 20 hours every single day. That makes the lion the laziest apex predator on the planet. A creature that does less physical activity than almost any other large mammal in Africa. And while he sleeps, she hunts. The lioness, the true engine of the pride. Research confirms that female lions execute between 85 and 90% of all kills. They do it in coordinated silence, no vocalizations, no roars, communicating only through subtle ear movements and tail signals, so precise they function like a military hand code. And then he arrives. He did not hunt. He did not stalk. He did not risk a single scratch. But in the hierarchy of the lion pride, he eats first. Every time, without exception. The lionesses wait, the cubs wait. The work of hours of exhausting, dangerous, strategic effort is consumed by an animal who contributed nothing to it. By any rational measure, this system should collapse. The females should leave. The pride should fracture, but they don't. And understanding why they don't reveals one of the most shocking survival strategies in the entire animal kingdom. But here is what no documentary has told you. When a new male defeats the resident male and takes over a pride, he does not celebrate. He does not rest. Within days, sometimes within hours, he begins systematically killing every single cub in the pride. Every one. It is not rage, it is not cruelty in any human sense. It is mathematics. A nursing lioness will not come into heat for up to 2 years. But if her cubs are gone, she becomes fertile again within weeks. The new male's clock has already started. In the wild, a lion's reign lasts an average of just 2 to 3 years before a younger, stronger rival takes over. He has no time for mercy. And the females, despite fighting fiercely to protect their cubs, will eventually accept the new male, will eventually raise his offspring. Because the pride must survive. The species must continue, even at this cost. Nature does not deal in justice. It deals only in continuity. He sleeps 20 hours a day. He steals food he did not earn. He kills the children of his predecessors without hesitation. He rules through fear, through sound, through a social system that seems designed to exploit. And yet, the lion has walked this earth for 2 million years, has survived ice ages, mass extinctions, and the collapse of entire ecosystems, has outlasted creatures bigger, faster, and stronger than itself. The lion does not concern itself with the opinion of the sheep. It concerns itself only with the survival of the pride. The king is not who you thought he was, and that is precisely why he is still king. Three suspects. One hunted the ocean's apex predator, and only the liver was taken. May 2017, Gans Bay, South Africa, the great white shark capital of the world. For decades, these waters belonged to a single apex predator, the great white shark. Then, over a single week, 5 adult great whites vanished from their tracked territories. Researchers monitoring the sharks noticed something disturbing. Every transmission ended the same way. A sudden violent dive. A spike in body temperature, consistent with entering the stomach of a warm-blooded predator. Then, silence. No bodies were recovered, at first. Then one morning, a local fisherman discovered a 4-meter female great white washed ashore. Her body was almost completely intact. No missing fins, no massive trauma, no signs of a feeding frenzy, except for one thing. Her liver was gone. This was not a random kill. This was a targeted extraction, and it was only the beginning. Three suspects had the means, the motive, and the opportunity. Suspect 1. A cannibalistic apex predator, one of the ocean's most efficient shark hunters. At over 4 meters long, its massive cephalofoil acts like a biological radar system, detecting the electrical signals of buried stingrays and hidden prey. It is fast, powerful, and fully capable of killing other sharks. Great hammerheads have been documented hunting and consuming smaller shark species. Motive? Competition. But the forensics didn't match. Hammerheads crush, they tear, they do not operate. Suspect 1 was cleared. Suspect 2. The broad-nosed seven-gill. This species has patrolled Earth's oceans since the age of dinosaurs, a prehistoric ambush predator, aggressive, opportunistic, and known to scavenge dead sharks, including great whites. But scavengers leave evidence: torn flesh, ragged wounds, feeding damage. The sharks showed none of it. Suspect 2 was not the killer. It was a witness. Suspect 3, port and starboard. 2 orca, 2 collapsed dorsal fins, 2 serial killers of the deep. Known to researchers as port and starboard, named for their bent dorsal fins, one leaning left, one leaning right. Orca had never been documented removing shark livers like this, at least not before now. The evidence was there, but nobody wanted to believe it, because these orca weren't just hunting, they were operating. The attack comes from below, full speed. The orca slams into the great white from underneath. The shark is stunned instantly. Then the orca flips it upside down. The effect is immediate. It cannot swim, cannot fight, cannot escape. The ocean's apex predator becomes completely helpless. Then the orca makes a single precise incision between the pectoral fins. It reaches inside, removes the liver, and leaves the rest behind, just the liver. The most energy-rich organ in the shark's body. Precision, efficiency, a hunting method learned and taught. But the most shocking part came next. The mass disappearance. After the first confirmed kills, researchers tracked the remaining great whites in the region. What they discovered was unprecedented. The sharks fled, not for days, not for weeks, for months. Some never returned. Hunting grounds ruled by great whites for decades, suddenly empty. 2 orca, one ecosystem changed forever. They target the most energy-rich organ and discard the rest. The ocean has a new apex predator, and it doesn't need a bigger bite, only a better plan. It can smell you from 20 miles away, not hear you, not see you, Smell you. 7 times more powerful than a bloodhound. More than 2,000 times stronger than a human. It remembers the world with precision. Every salmon river, every berry ridge, every glacier meadow it has ever crossed, sometimes for decades. It solves problems researchers designed for great apes. It has been observed grieving its dead. For over 30 years, field research has quietly dismantled everything we thought we knew about this animal. The myth of something savage, instinct-driven, mindless. What scientists found instead forced them to reconsider the limits of animal intelligence. This is the bear they never showed you. The bear's brain, relative to its size, is one of the most complex among carnivoran mammals. It compresses months of environmental data, terrain, food sources, rival territories, even human activity into mental maps researchers say function remarkably like human spatial memory. In controlled studies, grizzly bears have demonstrated episodic memory, the ability to recall what happened, where it happened, and when. A cognitive trait once believed to belong almost exclusively to humans and a handful of great apes. But the most striking discovery didn't come from a lab. It came from repeated observations in the wild, across continents. When a cub dies, the mother does not leave. She stays. For days, she covers the body with leaves, grass, soil. If driven away, she returns, again and again. Her behavior changes, signs of prolonged stress lasting weeks. Wildlife biologists are careful with language. In this case, they used a word they rarely use: grief. The bear is solitary. It forms no alliances. It cooperates with nothing. It shares space with no one by choice. And yet, wherever it moves, a system forms around it. Ravens follow it along salmon rivers, feeding on what it leaves behind. Their sudden alarm calls, their explosive departures, unintentionally warn the bear of danger, approaching from directions it cannot sense. Crows and magpies trail it through forests during berry season, catching insects stirred up by its movement, the same way certain birds follow large predators in other ecosystems. Otters, foxes, eagles. They don't follow the bear directly. They don't need to. They've learned over generations that when the bear moves, food is coming. The bear doesn't know it has allies. It simply exists. And the ecosystem organizes itself around that existence. Then, there are the animals that challenge it. The first one changes everything. The wolverine. Less than 18 kilograms, and yet documented repeatedly on trail cameras in field studies, driving grizzly bears away from their kills. Uses scent marking that can chemically spoil the carcass. For the grizzly, the calculation is simple. The cost of fighting is too high, so it leaves. Wolves are different. Alone, no chance. In packs, they overwhelm. In Yellowstone National Park, grizzlies adapted, not stronger, smarter. The Amur tiger and the brown bear both kill each other. No dominance, no retreat. In Russian Far East, 2 apex predators, no resolution. For 10,000 years, we built stories about this animal. We called it a monster, a demon, a force of nature without thought, without emotion. But the evidence tells a different story. The grizzly is not a monster. It is a mirror. Dr. Doug Peacock. We spent 10,000 years afraid of the bear. The entire time, it was simply trying to remember where it left its children. It survived the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. It survived the volcanic catastrophe that wiped out 90% of life on Earth. It survived 4 other mass extinctions, events so extreme they reshaped the entire planet. It was here before the first tree, before the first flower, before the first bird ever took flight. And right now, in the time it takes you to watch this, thousands of them will be killed. You think you know the shark? Movies showed you. Documentaries repeated the same story for decades. But what science has uncovered in just the last 10 years has forced us to rethink everything. The shark is over 450 million years old. That means when the first dinosaurs appeared, sharks had already existed for more than 200 million years. They are older than the dinosaurs by twice the dinosaurs' entire existence. And yet, we know almost nothing about their early history. Because sharks have no bones. Their skeletons are made of cartilage, soft tissue that doesn't fossilize. For hundreds of millions of years, the only evidence they left behind is teeth. Entire species lived, dominated the oceans, and vanished without a trace. 5 times, life on Earth nearly ended. The worst, the Permian extinction, wiped out 96% of marine life. The shark survived all of them, not by chance, but because its design worked. And in some cases, it barely changed at all. Right now, in the cold darkness of the Arctic, there is a shark swimming that may have been alive when Shakespeare was writing his plays. The Greenland shark, the oldest known vertebrate on Earth. Scientists discovered one estimated to be nearly 400 years old, possibly over 500. It lives in near freezing water, in complete darkness. It swims slower than a human walking pace. It's nearly blind. Parasites slowly destroy its vision over time. And it doesn't even reproduce until it's around 150 years old. A creature that moves slowly, sees poorly, and lives for centuries, and still survives. How? One theory, its metabolism is so slow it barely ages at all. But the truth is, we're still trying to understand it. Now consider this, a shark doesn't need to see to hunt. Hidden beneath its skin are tiny organs called the ampulla of Lorenzini. They allow it to detect electrical fields down to a billionth of a volt. That's the signal of a heartbeat. But it goes even further. The Earth itself has an electromagnetic field, and sharks can sense it. They navigate entire oceans using it, like a built-in GPS, crossing thousands of kilometers with no landmarks, no light, no guidance. And yet, despite all of this, we are killing them. Around 100 million sharks every year. That's about 11,000 every hour. Nearly 200 every minute. The main reason? Shark fin soup. Think about it. An animal that survived 5 mass extinctions, that existed long before the dinosaurs. that evolved into one of the most efficient predators on Earth, is now disappearing in a matter of decades. Not because of nature, not because of some global catastrophe, but because of us, because of demand, because of indifference. There's a quote that says, "In the end, we will conserve only what we love. We will love only what we understand. And we will understand only what we are taught." The shark survived everything the earth could throw at it. But it was never built to survive indifference. And that may be the one thing it cannot outlast. You've already been seen by this animal, not once, not twice, but many times without ever knowing it. Because this predator doesn't need to be seen to find you. It has more names than any animal on Earth. Mountain lion, puma, cougar, panther, ghost cat. Different names for the same invisible hunter. A predator that lives beside millions of people and is almost never seen. And what science is discovering about it is far more unsettling than anyone expected. The puma holds a world record, more names than any other animal, over 40 names in English alone, more than 200 across human languages, not because it is famous, but because humans encountered it everywhere. From the frozen edges of North America, to the dense forests of South America, to deserts, mountains, and jungles. Every culture named it independently, because every culture met it and survived the encounter differently. One animal, hundreds of identities, and no single story that fully explains it. Science classifies the puma as a small cat, not a big cat like lions or tigers. It cannot roar. It does not dominate with brute force, and yet it is the fourth largest cat on Earth. A contradiction. A predator that doesn't follow the rules of other apex hunters, instead of power. It perfected something far more dangerous. Silence. For over 8 million years, the puma has endured ice ages, climate shifts, extinction events that erased entire species. And yet, it remained. Not by being the strongest, but by being the most adaptable. It doesn't depend on one habitat. It doesn't depend on one prey. It changes before the world forces it to. That is why it still exists, when many stronger predators do not. High above the forest, another system is always watching. Stella's jays, magpies, Clark's nutcrackers. Their alarm calls are explosive, sharp, directional, impossible to ignore. When danger moves, they react instantly, and the puma listens. The puma walks alone, but it is never truly alone. Coyotes follow at a distance, ravens circle above, not as allies, but as opportunists. They wait for the kill. Because where the puma succeeds, others survive, even in isolation. It shapes the lives around it. And then there is one final presence: humans. The only species that changes the rules completely. Cities expand, forests shrink, and the puma adapts again. Living closer to people than ever before, yet still remaining unseen. So unseen that most people will never realize how many times they have already been watched. The puma does not announce itself. It does not need to. It simply listens, and the world, without knowing it, tells it everything. It is 50 degrees Celsius. In the Sahara, you would be dead in less than 2 hours. Your brain would stop functioning. You would quite literally cook from the inside out. Yet, the creature on your screen right now is not just surviving, it's hunting. Welcome to the Sahara, where the animals here haven't just adapted. They have evolved into biological master engineers of survival. Today, we peel back the skin of the world's most hostile environment to witness the dark genius of life at its absolute limit. To survive here, you have to be an engineer. First on the list, the fennec fox. Its ears are not just for sound, they are massive. Living heat exchangers. Blood rushes into these ears, spreading through a massive network of surface-thin veins. The fox literally dumps body heat into the air before the blood returns to its core. But those ears aren't just for cooling. They can hear a beetle moving 6 inches beneath the sand. When you live in an oven, silence is the difference between dinner and starvation. The addax antelope. In a land with no rain, they've learned to bypass the most basic rule of life, needing to drink. They don't have a secret well, they have a biological masterpiece. They extract every drop of moisture from the dry, brittle scrub they eat. They have hacked the water cycle to live entirely off the air and the desert brush. But for the birds here, dehydration is a constant death sentence. How do you find water when the nearest river is 500 miles away? You have to make it. The masters of this desert don't even have a backbone. The Deathstalker's scorpion. It survives by doing the impossible. It can shut its body down. It enters a near-dead state when the heat becomes unbearable, waiting for the safety of the night. When it emerges, it's not just a scavenger. It is an apex predator. And yet, even the Deathstalker has a predator, a tiny silver ant that has evolved to move so fast across the scorching sand that the scorpion can't even track it. This is the race for survival at 50 degrees. The Sahara isn't just a place of death. It is the ultimate sculptor of perfection. It strips away the weak and leaves behind only those who can master the extreme. These animals remind us that life doesn't just adapt to the world. In the Sahara, life shapes the world to fit its own survival. Nature doesn't care if you're comfortable. Nature only cares if you endure. Male elephants usually live alone. But during this season, they approach groups of females with a single purpose: to reproduce. To achieve this, they must drive away competing males. These 2 elephants are battling for access to the females, and their contest has lasted for several days. Today, the clash grows even more fierce. Eventually, one of them will have to surrender. These fights can become so intense that elephants sometimes break their tusks. At last, the duel is over. The victor has won the right to mate with the females. But his victory is only temporary. In elephant society, dominance can last for just a short time before another challenger arrives. What makes this even more fascinating is that elephants can sense danger and rivals through vibrations in the ground, using sensitive nerve endings in their feet. Even after the battle ends, the herd remains alert, because in the world of elephants, every victory is only the beginning of the next challenge. At 16,000 feet, the air is too thin to breathe and the cold kills in minutes. Yet here, a deadly survival game is in full swing. These are the masters of the third pole, and this is how they defy the odds. The game starts with the ghosts, the snow leopard. Perfectly camouflaged, it waits, relying on stealth rather than raw speed to survive. But the hunt is just the beginning. Where the predator leaves off, the Sky Patrol takes over. Himalayan vultures and lammergeiers are the specialists of the cleanup crew. While the leopard needs to hunt, these giants need only to spot a carcass, using their massive wingspan to own the thermals and dominate the horizon. But on the ground, survival is built, not just taken. Meet the Himalayan marmot, the engineer of the mountain. They spend their short summer digging elaborate, climate-controlled bunkers to survive the coming freeze. They aren't the only ones who know the value of a good home. The Pallas cat, with the thickest fur of any feline. Doesn't waste energy digging. It's the ultimate opportunist, using the marmot's hard work to stay shielded from the killing wind. Then, they're the ones that simply refuse to back down. The Tibetan wolf isn't just a hunter, it's a master of endurance. With hearts adapted for low oxygen, they turn these high-altitude deserts into their permanent home. And finally, the titan, the yak. They are the ultimate embodiment of endurance here. With digestive systems that create their own heat and blood cells built for the thin air. They don't just survive the third pole, they own it. It's a delicate, violent, and incredible balance. Every movement is a calculated win in the toughest game on Earth.
A single echoing howl. It rises from a distant ridge, deep, measured, almost mathematical. It travels nearly 16 kilometers, threading through pine, snow, and stone, calling out to others who live by the rhythm of the hunt and the law of the pack. That voice belongs to one of the world's most misunderstood and most intelligent predators. This is the life of wolves, creatures whose survival is not built on ferocity, but on loyalty, strategy, family, and cooperation so refined that even human societies once studied them. To understand wolves is to understand the heartbeat of the wild. Wolves are born not into chaos, but into order. Every spring, the alpha female retreats to a hidden den, a hollow log, an underground burrow, or a natural cave tucked into a hillside. Inside, she gives birth to 4 to 7 blind, deaf, helpless pups. For the first 2 weeks, they know only the warmth of her fur and the steady presence of the pack members guarding the entrance. While the mother nurses, the rest of the pack becomes her shield. The alpha male stands watch, driving away bears, cougars, and rival wolves. Other adults bring food and serve as babysitters. Young wolves, barely a year old themselves, play and groom the pups to help them bond. No wolf pup grows alone. A wolf is raised by a family. Humans once believed wolf packs were ruled by violence and dominance. Today, scientists know the truth. A pack equals a family. A typical pack includes an alpha pair, the parents, their children from previous years, sometimes a friend or adopted wolf. Packs are small communities with strict rules. No killing within the pack. Shared food, shared childcare. Collective decision-making about when and where to hunt. Silent communication using body language and eye contact. Every member must earn their place through teamwork, not aggression. A howl is not just a call. It can mean, "Where are you? Come home. Food is here. Danger is near. This is our territory. Stay back." Wolves identify each pack member's voice instantly. A howl can carry across 10 to 16 kilometers, making it one of the most efficient long-distance communication systems in nature. They also speak in whines, growls, grunts, facial expressions, tail positions, scent markings. The forest is full of silent messages only wolves can read. A typical wolf can travel 20 to 40 kilometers per day, but during winter or migration, some have been recorded traveling up to 80 kilometers in a single night. Their endurance is legendary. Wolves are not reckless killers. They are selective hunters, taking weak, sick, old, or isolated prey, helping keep ecosystems healthy. 1 or 2 wolves track the herd first. They test reactions, identify injured animals, look for signs of fatigue. Wolves don't sprint, they pace. They run in shifts, conserving energy until the prey can no longer continue. Only when success is nearly certain does the pack commit. They aim to destabilize the prey, isolate it, avoid dangerous kicks or horns. Food is shared strictly. 1. Pups first. 2. Mother. 3. Alpha pair. 4. Other adult wolves. This structure keeps the group strong. Wolves rank among the smartest animals on Earth. They show long-term memory, problem-solving skills, tools used, rare but documented, cooperative strategy, emotional intelligence, lifetime partnerships. A wolf can recognize the scent of a family member after years apart. They grieve when a packmate dies. They adopt orphaned pups. They form friendships. Their social depth rivals primates and elephants. Spring, new life. Pups are born. The pack stays close to the den. Summer, learning the world. Pups explore, play, and mimic hunting techniques. Autumn, first hunts. Young wolves follow the pack on real hunts for the first time. Winter, the ultimate test. Snow deepens, food scarce. Wolves must rely on absolute teamwork to survive. Around age 1 to 3, some wolves leave the pack. This journey is perilous. They may travel hundreds of kilometers. They must avoid humans, predators, and rival packs. They howl less to avoid being detected. Their goal: find a mate, start a new dynasty. This instinct is how wolves spread across continents. The wolf is not just a hunter, not just a symbol, not just a shadow of the forest. The wolf is a teacher showing us that survival is not about strength alone, but about loyalty, cooperation, intelligence, and balance. As long as wolves exist, the natural world remains whole, and every time a howl rises under the moon, the wilderness remembers its ancient kings.
The deer was found 3 days after it disappeared. The wounds on its leg were shallow, almost insignificant, nothing that should have killed it. The predator that made them was nowhere near the body. It had already moved on. It had learned 4 million years ago that it didn't need to stay. For over a century, prey animals on this island died from a single shallow bite. Days later, miles away from where the wound was made, the official verdict from the scientific community: bacterial infection. The dragon's mouth, a biological weapon of filth. 60 strains of deadly bacteria. Case closed. The real answer was buried deeper, and it took a different kind of detective to find it. The detective, the witness that survived. The detective in this case has no name, no rank, no laboratory. It weighs 900 kilograms and carries old scars on its left flank. Wounds from a dragon bite it survived 14 months ago. The water buffalo of Komodo Island is the only creature on this island that regularly fights back, that has learnt through pain, through loss, through herd memory passed from mother to calf, that the dragon's bite is not what it appears to be. The buffalo doesn't run when it sees the dragon. It turns to face it, because it has already solved the case. It knows what the bite is really carrying. The scientific community needed until 2009 to catch up. The twist, the real weapon. In 2009, biologist Brian Fry opened the dragon's jaw on an operating table. What he found were not just bacteria, but 2 venom glands buried deep in the lower jaw, producing an anticoagulant compound that prevents blood from clotting. One shallow bite, that's all it takes. The Timor deer walks away. It feels almost nothing. The wound appears minor, but inside its bloodstream something has already begun. The venom works silently, thinning the blood, dropping pressure, inducing a slow spreading shock the deer's nervous system cannot locate or fight. There is no swelling, no obvious trauma, just a quiet internal collapse that takes hours, sometimes days. The dragon doesn't chase. It follows calmly, deliberately, at walking pace, because it already knows the verdict. The accomplice, a crime 4 million years in the making. Isolated on Indonesian islands for millions of years, the Komodo dragon evolved into a highly efficient survivor, refining its venom and hunting strategy. When resources became scarce, it developed an extraordinary ability to reproduce without a mate, ensuring its survival completely on its own. The rivals, enemies of the island. The Komodo dragon's greatest threat is its own kind, as adults cannibalize hatchlings, forcing the young to survive in trees and mask their scent with animal feces. Meanwhile, the water buffalo stands as its fiercest opponent, a 900-kilogram animal known to kill adult dragons in direct confrontations by charging first instead of fleeing. The verdict? The case was never really unsolved. The dragon knew what it was doing. The bacteria were a decoy. The shallow wound was deliberate. The patience was the weapon. 4 million years of refinement and science needed until 2009 to read the evidence correctly, that, as wildlife biologist Brian Fry concluded, the Komodo dragon is not a primitive animal. It is a finely engineered killing machine that we simply hadn't bothered to study properly. The island has a top predator. It has always had one. We just weren't looking at the right part of the jaw. Case number Z02 is already open. The suspect is 3 centimeters long. It hides in coral, and for 1 millisecond, it generates temperatures comparable to the surface of the sun. The victim never hears it coming. One shallow bite, one silent toxin, and a predator patient enough to wait days for the body to fall. The deer was found 3 days after it disappeared. The wounds on its leg were shallow, almost insignificant, nothing that should have killed it. The predator that made them was nowhere near the body. It had already moved on, or it had learned 4 million years ago that it didn't need to stay. For over a century, prey animals on this island died from a single shallow bite. Days later, miles away from where the wound was made, the official verdict from the scientific community: bacterial infection. The dragon's mouth, a biological weapon of filth. 60 strains of deadly bacteria. Case closed. The real answer was buried deeper, and it took a different kind of detective to find it. The detective, the witness that survived. The detective in this case has no name, no rank, no laboratory. It weighs 900 kilograms and carries old scars on its left flank. Wounds from a dragon bite it survived 14 months ago. The water buffalo of Komodo Island is the only creature on this island that regularly fights back, that has learned through pain, through loss, through herd memory passed from mother to calf, that the dragon's bite is not what it appears to be. The buffalo doesn't run when it sees the dragon. It turns to face it, because it has already solved the case. It knows what the bite is really carrying. The scientific community needed until 2009 to catch up. The twist, the real weapon. In 2009, biologist Brian Fry opened the dragon's jaw on an operating table. What he found were not just bacteria, but 2 venom glands buried deep in the lower jaw, producing an anticoagulant compound that prevents blood from clotting. 1 shallow bite, that's all it takes. The Timor deer walks away. It feels almost nothing. The wound appears minor, but inside its bloodstream something has already begun. The venom works silently, thinning the blood, dropping pressure, inducing a slow spreading shock the deer's nervous system cannot locate or fight. There is no swelling, no obvious trauma, just a quiet internal collapse that takes hours, sometimes days. The dragon doesn't chase. It follows calmly, deliberately, at walking pace, because it already knows the verdict. The accomplice, a crime 4 million years in the making. Isolated on Indonesian islands for millions of years, the Komodo dragon evolved into a highly efficient survivor, refining its venom and hunting strategy. When resources became scarce, it developed an extraordinary ability to reproduce without a mate, ensuring its survival completely on its own. The rivals, enemies of the island. The Komodo dragon's greatest threat is its own kind, as adults cannibalize hatchlings, forcing the young to survive in trees and mask their scent with animal feces. Meanwhile, the water buffalo stands as its fiercest opponent, a 900-kilogram animal known to kill adult dragons in direct confrontations by charging first instead of fleeing. The verdict? The case was never really unsolved. The dragon knew what it was doing. The bacteria were a decoy. The shallow wound was deliberate. The patience was the weapon. 4 million years of refinement and science needed until 2009 to read the evidence correctly, that, as wildlife biologist Brian Fry concluded, the Komodo dragon is not a primitive animal. It is a finely engineered killing machine that we simply hadn't bothered to study properly. The island has a top predator, It has always had one, we just weren't looking at the right part of the jaw.
In 1986, the world witnessed one of humanity's greatest disasters. A nuclear explosion poisoned everything for miles. Chernobyl became a symbol of death. But decades later, something impossible is happening. The radiation is still here. Yet life, wild, untamed life, is thriving. Within the exclusion zone, packs of wolves now roam freely, more numerous here than anywhere else in Europe. Scientists tracking them expected deformities, chaos. Instead, they found strong, coordinated predators. They hunt deer, they defend territory. Their DNA shows no collapse. In fact, they seem healthier than wolves outside the zone. How is this possible? Chernobyl, once deadly to humans, has become the ultimate wildlife refuge. No people, no hunting, no cars, only nature. These are Przewalski's horses, the last truly wild horses on Earth. They were nearly extinct until a few were released here after the disaster. Experts thought they wouldn't last a year, but decades later their numbers have exploded. They breed freely, roam abandoned villages, and live untouched by humans. The radiation that once killed now protects them from us. Even birds, the first to flee danger, have returned to Chernobyl's skies. From swallows to owls, researchers discovered something incredible. Some birds in the zone show biological resistance to radiation. Their bodies produce higher levels of antioxidants, a natural shield against mutation. Life didn't just adapt, it evolved. Radiation never vanished. It seeps into the soil, into every living cell. Some creatures bear silent scars, frogs with darker skin, insects with shorter lifespans, but others seem almost unchanged. Scientists believe generations of exposure may have forced an invisible selection. Only the toughest survived, passing down resilience coded in their DNA. In this radioactive Eden, survival isn't about strength. It's about adaptation faster than death. But for nature, it's a second chance. No humans, no machines. Just silence and life rebuilding what we destroyed. Chernobyl was once a warning to the world. Now it's a question. Does nature need us at all? Or does it heal when we're gone? In the shadow of our mistakes, life endures. And maybe that's the most powerful force on Earth.
It lasted 4 years. It began with a patrol. It ended with the systematic extinction of a neighbor. This wasn't a territory dispute. This was a targeted, premeditated war. Gombe, Tanzania. 2 communities, the Kasakela and the Kahama. For years they shared the forest. They groomed together. They fed together. Then the community fractured. 4 years of systematic patrols, 6 targeted assassinations, the total destruction of a neighbor. 3 suspects in the conflict. 2 would be cleared. Suspect 1, the food scarcity. Droughts had depleted the Gombe forest. Fruit trees were bare. Did the Kasakela attack to steal territory and food? Evidence shows that Kasakela did absorb the Kahama territory, but the violence continued long after the resources were secured. The attacks weren't about hunger, they were about elimination.
Cleared.
Suspect 2. Mating access. High-ranking males often kill to secure females. But the Gombe War involved groups of males attacking groups of males. The females remained passive observers. The objective was never mating access. It was the total removal of every male from the Kahama community. The motive didn't match the method.
Cleared.
Suspect 3. The War Party. A group of 6 adult Kasakela males. They didn't act like foragers, they acted like soldiers. They patrolled the border in silence. They stopped frequently to listen. When they found a lone male from the Kahama community, they didn't just fight him, they executed him. They planned the ambush, they coordinated the strike, they murdered the neighbor. Verdict: guilty. The detective, Jane Goodall's innocence lost. Jane Goodall was the lead detective. She had lived among them for 14 years. She knew them by name. She knew their mothers. She knew their temperaments. When she witnessed the first patrol, she didn't believe it. She waited. She watched. Then she wrote the entry that changed anthropology forever. I have known the Kasakela chimps since they were infants. I loved them. How could they? She lost her innocence watching them plan murder. The verdict: Case 4. The Gombe War. Verdict: guilty. Not of insanity, of strategy. As Jane Goodall later reflected, we thought they were like us, but better. We were wrong. They are like us. Exactly like us. The Gombe War revealed that organized violence is an ancient primate survival strategy, not exclusive to humans. In recorded human history, across every continent, every culture, every century of documented contact between people and gorillas, there has never been a single confirmed case of a person dying at the hands of a gorilla in the wild. Not one. Ever. An animal that can bend steel with its bare hands, that can lift 10 times its own body weight, that possesses a bite force of 1,300 pounds per square inch, more powerful than a lion's, that faces leopards, crocodiles, and rivals silverbacks without retreating. Here is what science found when it went looking for the reason why. The intelligence. In the 1970s, researchers at the Gorilla Foundation began teaching a female Western lowland gorilla named Coco American Sign Language. What happened next was not in the research design. Coco formed sentences, invented new words, used sign language to joke, lie, and grieve, and later remembered her kitten Smokey's name years afterward without prompting. In the wild, gorillas use tools and physically teach their young specific skills. Scientists now place gorillas at the cognitive threshold of the Stone Age, functionally capable of tool use, teaching and problem-solving across time. The question is no longer how smart gorillas are, but something far more uncomfortable: the family. A gorilla group is not a troop, it is a family. Long-term partners, their children, and generations that live, travel, grieve, and defend each other together. Researchers have documented gorillas showing depression after loss, withdrawal, loss of appetite, and remaining near the dead. In Rwanda, a silverback stayed beside a deceased group member's body for 4 days, despite the danger from predators. He stayed because the gorilla makes a different calculation than we assume it does. The enemies and the accidental allies. But the world the gorilla inhabits does not grant it the peace it offers to others. The leopard is the gorilla's main predator, especially for isolated juveniles and infants. This constant threat is why gorilla groups move with strict cohesion, always staying together. Crocodile are another major danger at rivers, where gorillas use learned group behaviors and vigilant silverbacks to reduce risk. Meanwhile, gorillas and forest elephant coexist peacefully in the same forests, often feeding near each other without conflict, not through friendship, but through mutual recognition that coexistence is safer than conflict. A silverback possesses immense strength, tool use, teaching ability, grief, and deep family bonds that have endured millions of years of evolution, yet across recorded history. There has never been a confirmed case of a gorilla taking a human life in the wild. As Jane Goodall observed, gorillas may teach us more about humanity than any other living creature. Yet humans caged one of Earth's most peaceful giants while it quietly raised its young, waiting for us to understand it. 6 lion cubs, gone overnight. No blood, no drag marks, no sounds in the night. 3 suspects were at the scene. Case number 3, open. Serengeti, Tanzania. The Duma Pride. 7 lionesses, 6 cubs. 4 days before the murders, 2 new males arrived and drove out the old coalition. By day 4, the cubs were gone. 3 suspects. 2 will be cleared. Suspect 1, the hyena clan. 17 spotted hyenas had circled this pride's border for weeks. They kill lion cubs. Documented, coordinated, fast. But their tracks at the den site were 6 hours old. They arrived after the cubs were gone, drawn by scent, not making it. Cleared. Suspect 2, the leopard. A female leopard was seen at the rocky den site the same night. Leopards take lion cubs silently, nocturnally, but they kill to eat. They leave wounds. They cache the body in trees. No wounds, no cached bodies. Not one of 6. These cubs weren't hunted. They were removed. Cleared. Suspect 3. The real killers. The 2 new males. They had just won the pride. They were supposed to be its protectors. They killed every cub. Here's why, and the science is exact. A nursing lioness will not enter estrus, will not breed for up to 2 years. 2 years these males cannot afford. Their dominance window is short. Rivals will come. Age will slow them. Every month without offspring is a month of their genetics lost. So they kill the cubs, all of them. Every cub under 18 months. Within days, the female's hormones shift. Within weeks, estrus, new cubs arrive carrying the new male's DNA. But the most shocking thing is this. It works every single time. They didn't destroy the pride. They reset it. The detective, the lioness who knew. The oldest lioness didn't look at the hyena tracks. Didn't follow the leopard into the rocks. She turned and showed a steady gaze directly at the 2 new males resting 50 meters away. She had survived this once before as a cub herself. She already knew. The verdict? Case number 3. Verdict: guilty. Not madness, calculation. 4 million years of it. As Craig Packer, who studied lions for 40 years, concluded, infanticide by males is not pathological, it is adaptive. It is one of the most ruthlessly effective reproductive strategies in the mammal world. The pride will rebuild. New cubs will be born. And when the next coalition arrives from the north, it begins again.